Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek, close to the tree, Lamaster.
This is Great Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and Derek tells non sequiturs that don't even make sense, gives himself strange nicknames. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
I'm going to pass on that this week, Johnny.
Not so good, I'm taking it. You are on one already.
I don't know what's in this tea. If it is tea.
If it is tea. So, guys, everything going well tonight? I mean, at the time of this recording, Halloween is tomorrow. So our Halloween episode will have already passed, and I hope you enjoyed it and are talking about Tom Atkins and Stonehenge, which is what we talked about last week.
We talked about Stonehenge.
Yeah, remember that's where
it's in the movie.
That's
right.
where the power comes from. Is Stonehenge?
Gotcha.
Remember?
You never know what we're going to talk about. You know,
you never do. You're right. You're not wrong. We got a good one. We got a good episode today. We've got a very great movie to talk about. I'm excited to talk about tonight's movie. We are actually, this is the first time since early in season 1 that we've tackled a remake.
and
it's the first time we've tackled a remake so close to doing the original. As you'll recall, the first 4 episodes were Pet Sematary in the remake and The Fog in the remake.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, I mean, we've done The Thing, which is technically a remake, but we've not done a original remake comparison like we're going to kind of do tonight. So that's pretty exciting, right?
Yeah.
Taking it back to our roots. That's what we do. All right, guys. Before we talk about Tom Savini's 1990 remake of George A. Romero's classic film, let's get into the horror news. So, I didn't find a whole lot, but I did find some stuff, as it were. And let's talk about them right now. Let's start with this one, because it's actually very apropos for tonight. There is a new Night of the Living Dead sequel coming from the Nanny director, Naikatu Jusu. Probably ruined that guy's name, and I apologize. So, as we know, Night of the Living Dead is in the public domain, of course. But what's cool about this one is that this sequel is actually an official sequel. It has the official backing of Romero's ex-wife, Christine Romero. Deadline reports that the Christine Romero approved sequel is set to be directed by the name I said earlier, Nakatu Jusu. Hopefully I'm not killing that guy's poor name, or that woman's poor name. She had the directorial debut with the film Nanny. We don't know anything about it yet, except that what she had to say about the project is the original version of Night of the Living Dead is so resonant to this day. Every era has a zombie that it needs, and right now, zombies reflect the way that humans treat each other and show us who is truly the monster. What we know is that it's set for a theatrical release on November 23rd. I'm guessing of this year. And then we'll reach Amazon Prime on December 16th. What are your guys' thoughts?
That's crazy.
So this is a direct sequel to this 1960 version. Wow. Okay.
As far as we know. Yeah, it's definitely a sequel to that universe, at least to that original movie. What are you guys' thoughts?
So part of that definitely resonates with this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, you're absolutely right.
You're absolutely that's awesome. Right. I'm excited because either one, if it's the original or like, I'm assuming that's what it's going to be. I'm excited.
Yeah, I will watch it. The Night of the Living Dead's had a rough go of it since it's in the public domain. Anybody can remake it or sequelize it. it really has quality issues because it's, any Joe Blow can just make a Night of the Living Dead if they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, not the best news. So this having official backing is kind of cool. I mean, it's really cool. And if it has like the thoughts that it makes it seem like, the direction that it's going, we'll see how it goes. Okay, this is interesting, guys. So Terrifier 2 is coming to Blu-ray and DVD this December. So we still have to review the first Terrifier. Then we've got to watch this one. Derek, you've not seen it.
I've not seen it, no.
Lydia, you have seen the first Terrifier.
Yes.
Was it terrifying?
Are you excited to see part 2?
Well, we'll have to talk about that one because I don't want to give anything away.
Right.
I mean, that's one that we are most likely just gonna have to.
We're gonna have to dig deep into
this one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dig through it. This is interesting. There's a new R.L. Stine movie, Zombie Town, starring Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase.
Oh wow!
What?
Has a new poster. It is a cursed film. A town full of zombies and 2 teens are the only hope. But yes, they are in it. It's from the R.L. Stine universe. It will receive a theatrical release in the United States, then move to Hulu. Basically, it is directed by Peter Lepin. I don't know how to say his last name either. Peter Lepinides. And it stars Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, Henry Kersey, Scott Thompson, and Bruce McCulloch from Kids in the Hall. So it's a mystery teen romancer, is what it's described as. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Yeah?
Yeah, man, I can't remember the last time I saw Chevy Chase in like a movie.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, we just saw Dan Aykroyd not too long ago in the new Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Shudder has announced that its dream project. Now, this isn't any news, but this is Shudder saying that its dream project. When they asked what its dream project would be, Shudder's general manager, Craig Engler, says it would love to do a Friday the 13th movie.
Oh.
That would be a very good marriage, I feel like. Shudder and Friday the 13th. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would... hopefully it would be,
They've got... so I've never looked at their revenue stream, because who does? But with the disputes that they've currently had, I wonder if they could even afford to really take on a project that big. I don't know. I'm sure they can.
Oh yeah,
it just sounds out of left field to me. Is all I'm really trying to say.
They're owned by AMC. They do the creep show.
Oh,
yeah,
they are owned by AMC.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they can make a big budget Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th movies used to be made for like $3 million.
Yeah, what? We should look up and maybe put the dollars, like what the last one was made for. But yeah, be interesting. Imagine if you could get the exclusive streaming rights to that originally by doing that.
Yeah, and I would assume that they would release it theatrically as well. It'd just be that they would be the ones producing it. The budget for the last one was $19 million.
Okay.
That was for the 2009 one. The budget for all of the early ones were $3 million.
Yeah.
Less than that sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I'd sign on to that.
I'd be down. I think their aesthetic would fit it well, for sure. And then lastly, this last bit of horror news, it is announced that Saw 10 is coming, and Tobin Bell is reprising his role as Jigsaw.
Oh.
So it's
what do you got?
Did you just say Saw 10?
Saw 10. Saw X.
Whoa.
Yep.
Good Lord. They have beat
so
that to death.
here's what we have to say. The next upcoming Saw movie is planned to be very much a John Kramer story. The idea is that the story is told from Kramer's point of view as opposed to following the trap victims. Um, basically, all they say is that the Saw 6 and Saw the Final Chapter director Kevin Gertert is returning to helm Saw 6, which is aiming for an October 27th, 2023 release. And it's being written by Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg, who wrote the script to Spiral and Jigsaw. What are you guys' thoughts?
I'm down.
I'm going to pass.
I actually tend to like the Saw movies. Like, you know, some of them are a little different, some of them are a little dark, but
some of them are a little bad. Yeah.
Some of them are a little bad, but if you're in the right mood, you can be like, okay, I can get into this.
Yeah, we'll talk about those. We'll get into those.
Yes, we need to.
But the first two Saw movies I like an awful lot, and I can't wait to talk about them. I remember when Derek and I watched Saw 3 together for the first time, and I was like, that's the first time that I was like, I think I'm out of this. I don't think I like it. So we'll have to start getting into those. There are fucking 9 of those, apparently. A 10th one is on the way.
Right.
Holy cow.
I liked the last one. I can tell you that much. I can't keep them all straight. I can't keep them all in order, but
Spiral. Yeah.
Spiral was good.
Yeah, Spiral was good. Chris Rock one. That was a solid one. We went and saw that in the theaters, Lydia.
Yeah, we did.
We sure did. And that wraps up the horror news. All right, guys. So now it's time. 2 weeks ago, we reviewed Night of the Living Dead, and we had a lot of fun with it. We all gave it high marks. We all enjoyed the story, of course, and there were things that we felt could be improved upon. And then there were characters that we felt could be improved upon. So when it was my turn to pick last week, I was like, let's check out the remake and see if Tom Savini was able to, and George Romero writing the script, were able to improve upon those things that we kind of questioned. And now we're going to dig in and see if they did. So we're going to review Tom Savini's remake of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, the 1990 edition, which was written by George Romero. Let's start with our experiences. Lydia, this was your first time seeing this, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of weird though, because some of it seemed familiar to me in a way that I feel like I have had nightmares that like stem directly from this movie. So I was kind of confused. I was like, have I seen this before? And this is like subliminally like crept into my nightmares somehow. Like, I'm not sure. And it makes me question if I've seen it before, but I feel like this was a first watch for me. So don't know how to explain that.
That is interesting. Derek, how about you?
This is not the first time I've seen this movie. Man, if I had to guess, it was in the early 90s, and it was probably on like Showtime. Remember back in the day when Showtime for cable
you get your free
give like a week free? Dude, I am telling you, I saw this movie during one of those periods in the summer when they gave like a free trial week. So it was very familiar to me. You know, I remembered some of the beats, and it was a good time. I can't wait to get into the specifics.
Yeah, I remember when this movie was coming out in the 90s. I remember seeing the trailer for it in 1990. I was little. I remember seeing some TV spots, and I definitely remember renting some movies and seeing the trailer for it. You remember the coming soons on the VHS tapes?
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing this on one of the coming soons. And then I rented it because it's the video store. Of course, I wanted to see it. It was, cool zombie movie. So I rented it probably in 92, somewhere around there, I guess. And then it was on HBO or Showtime, one of those premium channels. Definitely watched it there too. And then I didn't watch it for many years. And then I would say about a decade or so back, I was over staying with my mom, visiting her, and was just going through something to watch, and I saw that that was on demand. Remember on demand?
Mhm.
So that was on demand, so I decided to give it a watch, and I was like, that was that was the time I remembered it. And I was like, this movie is very cool. I really want to put this into a rotation. So every once in a while, I'll I'll seek it out. I'll just rent it or see if it's on. I have the Blu-ray in my Amazon uh, in my Amazon shopping cart. I just haven't bought it yet, and I need to buy it because I really like it. So yeah, that's my Night of the Living Dead story. So where do you guys want to start with this one?
We start with George.
George.
Yeah, George
Romero?
Romero. Yeah.
Let's talk about him.
So he wrote this, right?
Correct.
So he is really one of the few directors that gets an opportunity to observe the hindsight, right? And so, like, and I'm really glad that we had just watched this a couple weeks ago, because having that discussion and going into this movie, like, he was able to correct a couple of major points that really made this movie like the movie we expected to see a couple weeks ago, and we got to see it this week. And some advantages to that. It's almost 30 years later. So
Close to, yeah. It'd be 22 years later. 22 years later.
The effects are better, right? Just his experience.
Makeup, yep.
Yeah, makeup is better, and then that hindsight. So I really love this movie. I'm really glad that he got another opportunity to take a crack at this.
Yeah, so a big part of doing this is, of course, he and Tom Savini were friends for a long time. Tom Savini was George's makeup guy. I mean, George gave him his start in, one of his starts in makeup effects. Dawn of the Dead is one of Tom Savini's biggest breaks. And of course, he comes back for Day of the Dead, which is one of the best gore features that you'll ever see. We can't wait to get into that one. So this was, he approached George, or George approached him about remaking it and him directing it. And it was kind of a way for George to get money from Night of the Living Dead, since he was screwed out of all the royalties due to the copyright thing.
Wow.
So this was a way for him to actually make money and own Night of the Living Dead.
I did not know that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was a way for him to, kind of recoup something from it, right?
Yeah, and so one of the cool things is, like, the beats of this movie, are very on pace with the original. I would liken it to like a parallel universe where the same events unfolded, but just like slightly different. That's what I kind of like compared it to.
Yeah, well, the movies, the beats are similar. The pace is faster.
Way faster.
You're right. Yeah.
Way faster. It's a 90s movie, late 80s movie. It feels like that, like a modern movie. Since we're going to start talking about the beginning, let's talk about my favorite character in this movie, Barbara.
Barbara is a badass.
I love 1990 Barbara.
Yeah.
She rules.
Yeah.
She rules. It's Patricia Tallman, actress and stuntwoman, plays Barbara, and she's gorgeous. Also,
she is stunning.
Like I remember watching this about a decade ago when I rewatched it, and just like my mouth dropped over. It's probably longer than that. Probably 15 years ago, but I remember just being like, she's gorgeous. Like, yeah, she's great in this. Barbara, of course, now is she starts out very much the same, and then doesn't have that nothingness that she in the original. She's a nothing character. After that, she's just there. In this, she has an arc.
Yeah, there's a you can really pinpoint it, because there's a moment where it seems like she's gonna be that way, and then she like beats the shit out of that the zombie. Yeah, and kills him, and you're just like, this ain't your mama's, Barbara. That was That was terrible the way I said it. Anyway.
No, I like
No,
it.
you're right. You're absolutely right. It's definitely like, this is modern Barbara, and she rules.
Yeah. I will say the only thing I didn't like that I thought they did better in the first, and it was probably the actor that played off of her brother. I liked the banter and like kind of the camaraderie that the original actors had for that graveyard scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought he came off a little
I
what's
don't
his
know.
face came off a little bullish.
Yes, he's more bullyish in this, but I like Johnny. It's Bill Moseley plays Johnny
Bill
in this one.
Moseley, yeah.
And I like it. I think he's fun, and it's kind of the similar dynamic. It's just then it's the 60s more buttoned down, whereas now we're in the 90s, and he's like, You're really still afraid of this? Good, come on, jeez Louise.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's something a little bit magical about the 60s cemetery scene. You know what I mean?
Yes, though when the zombies come, this version kicks the shit out of the original.
Oh yeah.
That first zombie we see rules.
Yeah.
Dude, I love when he like trips him and they fall into the thing, and it's
head.
It's like a quick shot, and it's the dummy, obviously, but
yeah,
man, it's
so
effective.
So visceral.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that dummy had some weight to it. Like there was some, impact there, and it was
they
just
use a lot of dummies. They use a lot of dummies, and they all look amazing.
So that first zombie we see is the makeup job on him's awesome. He rules.
Yeah.
And then the second zombie we see with the guy, and he's basically was buried, so he had his suit cut on him.
Yeah.
Is so scary. That's such a creepy idea.
Yeah. And I love like comparing the two movies at this point. Immediately you're like, okay, we're in for a treat here. Like
we're in for a ride.
For something different,
Yeah.
Because the very first one is he's not dead. The one guy, like the older guy.
No, the first guy that shows up isn't. It's just a guy. But the first
he
zombie,
looked like he was dead. Yeah.
And he looks like the first zombie that you see in the original.
And
so you're like, oh, there he is. You know what to expect. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And then the farmhouse chase is just everything's quicker, of course, and the pace. But what I really like is the movement of the camera in this movie is really good. I wish Tom Savini had a bad time with the studio and stuff with this movie. He never directed again. And it's unfortunate because he's got some really gorgeous shots in this. Like when she arrives at the farmhouse and she goes outside right before she sees Ben, right before Ben arrives, we do this or when she's coming up, when she's running up, we do this follow with her and we push in on her. And it's just beautiful. I was like, that's some great camera movements. Okay. So, let's talk about Ben. So we get Tony Todd as Ben, and he's also great. Ben's also great. Tony Todd's also great as Ben.
Yes, he really does a fantastic job, and he is so fun to watch. I could just stare at him all day. I could just watch him in everything.
You know what I would say is like his biggest disadvantage in this movie is that the other actors are actually pretty good. And the first one, like Ben was the only good actor, and everybody else sucked. But the cast in this movie was so good, so he did a great job, and I enjoyed every scene he was in. He just didn't stand out necessarily as much as the original Ben because of the people that were around him.
Yeah, they also give him some different stuff to do. I
mean,
he's
do
similar, very similar, but he has different. There's different differences.
Oh yeah.
So in Night of the Living Dead, Ben is very much the lead. In this one, Barbara's the lead, and Ben's the co-lead. I mean, that's the difference. That's the difference. So Ben's first scene is great when he walks out of the truck and we get the shot of his legs and he pulls out the crowbar. Mm-hmm. I was like, go!
Yeah.
And dude, that the fight inside the farmhouse with those two zombies is really good. The fact that old boy just falls off the thing is so scary. And he's so creepy, that zombie. When when Barbara goes in there and she's looking around and Ben is fighting with the other one and he pops up and she starts like, instead of like freezing and shrinking, this is what you were talking about, Derek. She decides to fight him and just belts the shit out of him with that fire poker. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
And then
I will. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't, we'll get to it. I don't want to give it away, but I feel like Ben, no matter what universe he is in, just gets the raw end of the deal.
He does.
I feel so bad for his character.
Yeah, well, in this one I feel less bad, and I'll explain why.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'll explain why. But so I love that zombie that Ben hits with the truck. That zombie is so cool. Like the way his eyes are, like kind of like close together.
Yeah. Another like great dummy scene too.
Yeah, and like his legs are up, and he's just like, trying to. That's so creepy. I love. Ben just goes out there and kills like multiple zombies to get him out of the way, and then he has that great. He's like, "God damn you!"
Yeah,
love it. So, let's talk about our other characters. Let's talk about what do you guys think of Cooper in this one?
About the same as the old.
I think he's more of a bastard in this one.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say that exact same thing. Just when you're like, oh man, I couldn't hate that Cooper character anymore than I did in the last one. This motherfucker comes into the scene and he's like, "I'll one up you."
Yeah, just a total fuck in this one.
Oh
he's
my
awful.
God, I can't. The only like the karma that occurs in this movie related to him.
Yeah, we'll get to it. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I know. I just justified. That's all I can say.
So fucking Cooper sucks, but the actor's great. The actor does a great job with him.
He does.
And like you said, all the actors are better because Tom is a way better actor than last time.
He is.
He's not a chiropractor.
Did you guys look up the guy who plays Tom?
No, is he a chiropractor?
No, I just happened to like look him up, and he is in that Baby Oopsie Murder Dolls that we were talking about.
Oh my God, we've got to watch it now. And we had to watch it anyways, Baby Oopsie.
Right? I mean, I just remember that coming up in our horror news.
Yeah,
and I
that's
was
hilarious.
Like, oh, he's in that. He's in other things too, but
he does a much better job. This guy does.
Yeah. I will say, this is so minor. One of the problems I had with the original, they totally fixed in this in his death scene.
Oh yeah.
Like the last time that we watched this, I was like, man, why would you do that? Like that's so dangerous. And then this time,
it makes more sense, and we'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah. So I didn't want to give anything away, but maybe
let's talk about. I mean, because then we have Judy. Judy Rose? She's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's kind of probably the weakest actor in the movie, I feel like.
Yeah. But
I
she's
agree
like
with you.
Smaller character, so
yeah, she's fine. And then we have Helen, who actually has less screen time than the original Helen does, I feel like. I feel like she's even more of a minor character. And then Sarah, the daughter, has another really effective scene in this one. So our cast is very strong in this one, for sure. Yeah. What do you guys think of the farmhouse set in this one? I think it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
It looks so scary, like creepy.
That's one of the things that is straight from my nightmares.
The farmhouse?
Yeah, the farmhouse itself is so scary. And I grew up in an old farmhouse. So I don't know if that is like part of it or I don't know. But this house has definitely been in my nightmares for sure.
There is a familiarity with like a house like that. Because you can tell like these are just good old people, good old folks that live, in wherever like last time I think it was Pennsylvania. I don't know if they directly reference where.
Pretty sure it's Pennsylvania still. Well, it is because he's wearing. I would assume he's wearing a Steelers hat.
Was he?
So it's probably in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah. So like I've been in farmhouses just like that. And so it's very easy to put yourself into that specific scenario. It's really effective.
Yeah. So when we get introduced to Cooper and everybody after they start building the stuff. So this whole dialogue, Ben still has his dialogue. But in this one, instead of Barbara just sitting there shell-shocked, we see Barbara building her wardrobe that she's gonna have throughout the movie, which is this beat that I love. I love that she goes outside, she sees the shoes, so she grabs them. And then when they open the basement door, she sees the pants, so she grabs them. Mm-hmm. That way she's in more practical clothing because she's in a skirt, basically.
Yeah.
And no shoes because she lost them during the chase scene. So that's fun. But Barbara's more engaged.
Yeah. Sorry. I was telling Jake that she walks out with her full new uniform on. I was like, man, I hope if there's a zombie apocalypse, I can find a cool outfit like that.
Yeah, her outfit rules. She's so cool. Yeah, love it. And when she when the zombies start to attack the first time, she's not just like a worthless thing. She's there helping Ben hammer him up. She's helping with all that. Ben still tells a similar story about how they just shoot him and they keep coming and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it gives a great performance by that fireplace.
I love it.
He starts to cry, he tears up.
He is good at that.
Tony Todd's awesome. Yeah. He's so good. So good. So when we're first introduced to Cooper and company downstairs, there's this great shot of a close-up on Barbara, and we see the door swing open, and she's like, and starts to scream.
Yeah. God, and, that's so suspenseful and awesome. I was like, that shot was really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And then that's when we're introduced to him, and we see that he's like an even bigger prick. And they immediately butt heads. Mm-hmm. Immediately. Mm-hmm. In this, so there's a slight difference in this, but so in the original, Ben immediately is taking charge. In this one, Ben's trying to work together at first a little bit. He's a little more giving at first. Go on, Tom, talk, what's going on? Hey, maybe we could do this. Then he immediately is like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't like you. I've only known you for a few minutes and already don't like your ass. So stay the fuck out of my way.
Yeah.
And then Cooper's like, well, I don't like you either because I'm a dick.
Yeah. Ben is respectful of people and sets boundaries, and that guy just comes in. I mean, that guy was already in the basement being an asshole before we met him. You know what I mean?
And while I was watching it, I thought to myself, you know why Tom is so eager for him and Julie to be like, yeah, we'll go upstairs, even if he thought the basement was safer, because he wouldn't have to put up with fucking Cooper.
No,
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's too good of a guy to kick Cooper out. So instead, he's just dealing with him. But there's that bit where, Judy starts yelling at when he and Ben get into a fight, and he's like, nobody's kicking anybody out. Nothing like that's going to happen. We just all have to work together. So there's a great bit where they go upstairs looking for wood. Ben and Tom. And mm-hmm. Ben makes him stay downstairs until he can cover up his cousin who was dead because they didn't want him to see him, which is a really nice character beat for Ben, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yep. He knew that's just gonna hurt him,
Yep. Yeah. Well, he cares about people. Like when he goes downstairs to look for right after that scene, he goes downstairs to look for they need the old doors because the new doors are too pathetic. He just punches right through it.
Literally a thought I had too, right before that happened. I was like, every time I watch a zombie movie, I'm like, man, I got no doors in my house to board stuff up. I start looking around prepping, and I'm like, yep, there's nothing in here I can use. These doors are garbage.
Yeah.
And I love that they
at one point I want to talk about strategy, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to throw that in here. Real quick, before I lose this thought. So this is also another like deviation and just an assertiveness that Barbara has that she didn't have in the first go around, was whenever they are arguing. I don't know if it's this specific one or it's a little bit later, but at one point she speaks up and she starts like saying, "You guys are acting like a bunch of children arguing about this."
Yeah, it's a little bit later. She says it twice, because the first time she kind of talks up because she looks outside and she sees, the zombies, and she's like, "They're so slow."
I know.
And she's like, "We could totally, if we start going, we could totally get away from them. If we're careful, we can totally make it around them."
Mm-hmm.
Nobody listens to her. And yeah, and then the scene you're talking about, they get into a big blowout fight because of a zombie, and she says, "You guys are acting like a bunch of 2-year-olds."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that scene here in a minute, because first I want to talk about Cooper decides he's going to smack his wife right before they go downstairs in the basement, which just immediately makes you hate him even more.
Yeah. Even though I feel like that scene for me, like, wasn't acted out as well as the 60s version. Do you know what I mean? Like, he kind of, like, the way she reacts is so strange to me. Of, like, at least in the 60s one, the woman was like shocked and like upset and like pissed and like whatever. But in this one, she's just kind of like starting to kind of half-ass smacking back, and like it just doesn't work, and I'm like,
well, her shock comes after that when she sits down. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the blocking was better in the original. But yeah, he just smacks her, and then he's just, the way he glares at her after is like he's like a big tough guy. You're like, dude. The one thing I wish that this movie had that the original didn't have is the scene where Ben just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, that would be good.
We don't get that one in this one. We get something else instead, but I really enjoyed the scene where Ben just kicks the shit out of Cooper for 25 minutes. Yeah, so the way things happen flows more naturally in this one, I feel like. The sequence of events flow. Like, in their plan to go to the gas tank, right? Because he tells them, "Hey, we have a gas tank. Well, let's look for the key." So there's a search for the key. Well, kind of half-ass search for the key, and that should have been all of their focus, and they all should have worked on it, and they could have got it and been fine. But basically, Barbara's like, "Wait a minute," she has the epiphany. She goes outside. Well, first, let's talk about that scene where the zombie breaks through the window, and Barbara caps him. Because this is a big pivotal turning point for her character.
The one where she shoots him a couple of times.
Before that, the guy that falls through the first time, and she shoots him in the back of the head.
Yeah. And then has a moment right there.
Yeah. And then, yes, Derek, that zombie that comes through the window and is like this is one of the creepiest zombies of all time.
Oh, he is freaky.
Yeah. He's so cool.
Kind of alien looking,
Yeah.
Kind of green.
Pops through. Yeah, it pops through. And so she's like, because she's tired of them. And she's like, because they're telling her that it's, and Cooper's like, "They're not waking up from the dead. That's not a thing." And so she shoots him.
Is he dead? No! Is he dead? You're all seeing this. Is he dead?
Stop it! You're losing it, girl. You are losing it!
And then finally shoots him in the head. And it's like, she's like, "I've seen these. I know what they are. So at me, bro." Basically is what she's saying.
Yeah.
So you want to know what I would have done?
What?
This is my weird thinking. I would have taken up like the first 5 steps of the steps upstairs. So first off, that you as a zombie, because they can't climb, they're slow as shit.
Oh,
like they would not. But then you would definitely have an advantage point to like just plunge them in the head. Like, you could just more or less like usher them in and clear them out. Anyway, I would have went upstairs. I would not have went downstairs in the basement. I feel like that's always kind of been a flawed strategy, because you are pinned in. At least worst case scenario, you have windows. You can get out on the roof or have like a ladder or something to climb down. Or someplace to go.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think I would have left. I would have.
I would have done what Barbara did.
Barbara had a great plan. I think she was spot on.
But then
And
it's like, where do you go? You don't know where
Yeah.
you're gonna go. You might get stuck or
There's
trapped
some
somewhere else.
there's some scariness to it, but you know
Mhm.
the so the truck escape scene and Tommy's death is much better done in this version.
Yeah, way
That-
better.
Logically, it is logically for sure.
Also,
It makes-
Norma Jeans or whatever her name is, like
Judy Rose.
Judy Rose.
She like her part in this is so much more natural
Yeah,
because it's not like all of a sudden and then she ruins everything. Like she's part of the plan.
Mhm.
yeah.
You know,
She can
it's
drive.
it's his
Got
stupidity.
that skill.
She's skilled driver.
Blows my mind. Why would you shoot a gun at a gas tank?
Yeah.
Not the best.
Doesn't
Not the
make
best
any-
idea. He was panicking.
under
He was
stress.
panicking.
I know
Yeah.
he was, but golly,
Yeah. So
come on.
at least in this one, he he shoots the gas tank, but the torch, the lit torch that Ben had, is in the bed of the truck. So it just accidentally spews on it and explodes, as opposed to him going with the
Just ignites everything. Ignites the air. Like
yeah. That doesn't happen. Instead, we get like an actual, it spews everywhere and explodes. So they're gone, and we don't have Cooper. What an interesting thing about this too is that it makes Cooper more of a dick by proxy because he doesn't help.
Yeah.
yeah.
But there's a scene that happens before that makes, and this is why I said that what I said earlier about Ben. So when Cooper's coming with the TV, Ben immediately just assaults him when he sees him with the TV.
Mhm.
And Cooper's like, he was bringing it downstairs so everybody could watch it. He legitimately was, because he couldn't get any reception in the basement, like he said. He's bringing it down so everybody could see it. And Ben immediately was like, "You're taking it downstairs," because they've already were up in each other's faces.
Mhm.
So they break the TV and assault each other. So then it's like, and Ben knows when he has him pinned down, and he says, "What am I going to do? I can't get any reception in the basement, you idiot." You could see it on his face. He realizes, oh, I was in the wrong here. You know what I mean? This was not the way to do this.
For sure, but I mean, if you're thinking about the type of character that the other guy is, like, I would have made the exact same assumption.
Yeah,
That,
but then you say, "Hey,
for sure,
where are you taking
yeah.
that TV?"
Maybe
You don't immediately assault a guy.
He was
Mhm.
rushing. From my recollection, I think he was like, kind of moving fast, and maybe he wanted them to see what was going on. But
He was moving fast because he was
in the
carrying
heat
a
of the
fucking
moment-
1980s tube TV
I
downstairs.
probably would have made the same assumption. You're also right.
Your motherfucking TV.
Things were not light.
No,
Dude, I
I think that was
remember
I think that was a 13-inch, and it was 400 pounds.
The
Yeah.
first flat screen TV I ever had was a tube flat screen TV, and it was
Mhm.
like 32 inches. My God, that thing weighed like 100 pounds. Or
Those
it had
things
to
are
be like 80
really
something.
heavy. Yeah.
Dude,
I struggled whether it was awkward.
yeah, I had a
They're hard to
20-inch
pick up.
flat
Yeah.
tube TV, and I remember taking it. I bought it at Walmart, and I remember bringing it home and like carrying it, and I had to carry it up all the way upstairs, clear into that back room. Lydia,
Was that silver one that was
the silver TV
that we were using? Me and Jake were using.
Yeah, that was it. That
So
was
yeah,
my
I
guy.
moved that one a couple times, and that thing weighed a ton,
Sucked. Yeah,
and it
sucked.
was hard to pick up because the size of it.
Yeah, and I picked it up from downstairs and carried it all the way up. Yeah, that was not the best. And then I got my actual real flat screen TV, and I was like,
You're
"Woohoo!
like, wow,
Look
these
how
are
light this
great."
is."
Yeah.
My
I
TV
remember my first flat screen.
My current
So
TV is
exciting.
not light, but it's also 75 inches, so it's
Yeah.
a little heavy still. So yeah, basically, Cooper doesn't help him at this point. So he also like hesitates on helping Tom as well when he's
with the nails.
Yeah, with the nails when the zombies coming through. And so Ben's stuck outside because of the big explosion. He's stuck outside trying to make his way back to the farmhouse, and Barbara's in the house just fucking picking off zombies.
Yeah, she is.
Which is great. And Cooper comes from behind her and he's like, I need that gun. And she's like, go to hell, I think is what she says. Like, go to hell. Go fuck yourself. I don't
Go back to your hole.
Yeah, who the fuck are you?
She says, go back to your hole. I was like, yes.
He tries to grab her.
Except he's grabbing her.
Yeah, and they're fighting over it, and then the zombies end up grabbing him. And Ben's trying to get in after he pulls like a Transformers or the transporter fight with them, like our favorite Lydia, where he's in the slicked oil. His body felt like when he's rolling around, flipping zombies.
The transporter. I love that.
Yeah, it's the best.
So funny.
I obviously, as the observer of a movie, I would have tried to, before we went out, I would have tried to create some sort of a diversion.
Yeah, and the original
they don't do anything. They're just like, well, yeah, you're right, because they take some stuff outside and they like light it on fire.
And they throw Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, to distract them instead of.
Yeah, in this one, their plan, that's what I'm saying, their plan is very last minute in this one. It's not like a thought out plan.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, well, hey, we found the keys. We think these are the keys. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
that's a bummer.
It is a bummer.
That kind of goes perfectly with the pace of the movie, though. Like how the old one was a lot slower. They had time to think about what they wanted
methodical.
to do. Yeah. And then this one is just like doesn't stop. It's just like just keeps building. You know what I mean? Like it's I mean, the music just continuously like is making me stressed out. So
yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it's very good.
But it is also, speaking of the music, it is very dated now.
Yes.
It's like an obvious 90s movie to me.
Hey, I love the 80s, 90s scores. Those are where it's at.
Yeah.
80s movies, especially like Carpenter, are timeless scores. Those scores are pretty much timeless.
Yes, that's the difference of this one and a timeless score. This one's not timeless. This one is timed.
It's very much of its day. You're right.
But it's not that, I don't hate it or anything.
No, you're right. Those Carpenter scores are just always cool. Like they never lose their coolness.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, you enjoy, your ear still perks up at them and the momentum moves forward. This is, you're right. Very late 80s.
Yeah.
Early 90s.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple
but it really
other
works
movies
for the movie. Really works for the movie.
Like the same orchestra, I think, did a lot of different movies. It's like the same kind of orchestra.
It's kind of a sound, like a that kind of. I'm all about that. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But so Ben comes in after Cooper gets the rifle because Barbara leaves it with him while he's getting attacked by zombies. He gets away and Ben comes in and Cooper runs upstairs essentially. And Barbara and a cop comes through and they bash him and kill him and he has 2 guns. So they each are taking one of his guns and Ben grabs the gun. And at this point, his daughter comes in. So before this happens, we get the scene with Sarah down the basement. What are you guys' thoughts on this one?
The wife scene?
Yes.
I was just trying to picture it. I really love the throwback.
Yes. The callback, yeah.
Yeah, the callback to the trowel was very nice. I really enjoyed that.
The blood splattering on it.
Also, I think Sarah was really freaky. Like, she did a great job.
And she has braces, so it's really interesting. Yeah.
She's got like a retainer in.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Derek? You're muted, by the way, buddy.
Thank you, because I would not have noticed that. So this one's tough, man, because I could definitely see from Cooper's perspective, I mean, obviously he knows what just happened.
What do you
as
think
far
of the
as
basement scene first?
Oh, the basement scene. I mean, it played very similar to the original, and so you know that was a good throwback to that.
Instead of her stabbing her, she bites her.
Yeah,
the neck.
and that is just the evolution of the zombies in general.
Yeah.
So, you know, a little bit of classic mixed with modern take on that. But yeah, when she gets upstairs, man,
yeah,
it would be super hard to do that. It would, and I slightly understand. At the end of the day, like, you know, she's dead.
yeah.
It'd just be tough, man. I don't know. That one's hard.
Yeah, that's one of those things. That's one of those things that gets you in a zombie film, you know.
100%.
That hesitation.
Sure. That connection you have with the people.
love you feel, you know. Even though he kind of seems like he doesn't care much about his family, but you know.
Well, he's definitely
cares about
bag.
himself. He cares about himself.
Yeah. But yeah, so he shoots Ben because Ben's going to shoot her because she's coming right after him. And then Ben shoots him and he goes upstairs and Barbara shoots Sarah with the other gun and Ben chases him upstairs and they both shoot each other again. Like they couldn't let it go.
Did you see like when he dived into that room?
Yeah. After he shot again.
Yeah.
So, Ben's too injured to come. He could have let it go, but he had to try to chase him and everything and got shot again. So he's too injured to come. So instead, he goes and locks himself in the basement. Cooper locks himself in the attic, which is actually not a bad idea. They should have all done that.
Yep.
And then Barbara leaves. In the scene where Barbara's leaving, what do you guys think of Barbara out in the wilderness? Because I love this stuff. Her in the field with the zombies.
First off, her take on this was accurate.
Yeah.
So she deploys her strategy and coincidentally is one of only two that survives. And then she gets I love when she comes across.
Yeah, we'll get to
the OG.
Yeah.
And she's just like, you bastard, you're the one who caused all this. As far as the zombie.
Yes.
That she stabbed in the neck
zombie.
with that thing.
Cemetery zombie. Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna waste the bullet on your face.
Yeah, fuck you. And then there's there's the woman that has like the freaking doll or whatever in her hand.
Yeah.
And she's just crying from sadness and everything.
Yeah.
And it finally, she like pushes it out of the way and it comes back to her. So she just shoots it right in the face. And then she sees all the zombies like eating, the remains of
barbecue.
Yeah, barbecued Tom and Judy Rose. Yeah.
Judy Rose.
Yeah. And she, stumbles upon the rednecks, which in this one are different, obviously. Yeah. What do you think about the redneck posse in this one?
They did manage to slip that line in.
Yes, and it's also Chili Billy is the one interviewing. The same guy.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Catch
it's Chili
that.
Billy's like, so are these creatures slow? Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Yeah.
So they have like actual encampments going on here. These rednecks.
Yeah.
And
this is go ahead. I got thoughts.
Yeah, when Barbara wakes up and she sees it after being rescued by these guys, and she wakes up in classic George Romero fashion, by the way. She's wearing like a cool jean jacket, looks even more badass than before. It has like the gun slung over her, and she's just looking at everything and seeing like this chaos, seeing them fighting zombies in like a pen. They have them in a pen. They have them hanging from ropes, and they're just like, kind of torturing them.
She says something here.
Yeah, she says, they're us. We're
Yeah,
them,
we are them,
they're
and
us.
they're us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as
We're the monsters, basically. Yeah.
yeah, this was so here's the bad thing. Like, I'm sure back in this time you probably could have imagined it as well, but like, I can kind of imagine this happening,
Yeah.
and just the connection that someone like Cooper has with his daughter, and he can't do that, and these people have such a disconnection for these were people. I mean, albeit they're trying to eat you.
Yeah, if you're doing it self-defense, you kill them. I mean, that's what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but just the way
disrespect.
Well, it's the fun that they're
disrespect
having with it. The fun that they're having with it.
it's gross.
That's why she kind of says having fun, kind of gives
Yeah.
like that smile, like what is going on? What world am I living in now?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the farmhouse to try to, she's wanting to rescue Ben, and so they're cutting into the cellar, and obviously it was a good hiding spot because it took forever just to chainsaw the door open, and a Ben zombie walks out. He didn't make it through the night.
No.
And he looks at Barbara, and it's almost like a recognition.
Mhm.
And then he's gunned down.
Yeah.
And Barbara, of course, is devastated.
Mhm.
And then she walks around the corner, and she's surprised by Cooper coming down the stairs. He's survived the night. He looks like shit because he's bleeding out, but he survived the night. And he's like, "You came back." And she shoots him right between the eyes.
Yeah, she does.
And then says, "There's another one for the pile."
And they're kind of looking like confused, like, was that a person?
Yeah,
Or-
it's like, okay. And so, she goes outside and sees the pile burning, and we end on like a really cool close-up of her. What do you guys think of this ending?
Oh man, I really did not know what to expect when they're opening that basement door. Like I was like on the edge of my seat right there. I was like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And then seeing him, I was like, no.
No.
And then but also it's kind of better than the heartbreak you feel in the 60s one.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, anything's better than that, I guess. So rather be a zombie than be murdered by those guys. I think.
Those hillbillies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of like racist, just
Yeah. What do you think, Derek?
ignorant.
So I've seen this movie before, and I mean, even though it was 20 plus years ago, I 100% remember when it happened, like that he was a zombie. I knew that that was going to be the conclusion to that, and it's heartbreaking because we saw the one a couple weeks ago, and this one here. So Ben always gets the raw end of the stick.
Yeah.
And although I did feel, a lot of relief and, some justification when she shot Cooper in the eye but in the head. But yeah, I'm glad that bastard didn't make it.
Yeah.
She like the fact that she made that decision really says a lot of like how her character is like no fucks given at this point. She's like, if he didn't make it, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah,
she made that choice.
And the fact that Ben didn't make it because Cooper shot him.
Yeah, for sure. He's a murderer.
If Cooper doesn't shoot Ben, then she and Ben get out together.
Yeah.
And they make it. Because Cooper would have stayed and hidden the thing, and maybe they could have saved him if he wasn't such a dickbag. But if they all could have worked together, it's the same exact scenario. The same exact lesson, which is if they would have worked together, they could have got out of this. If they would have all worked together, they would have went down in the basement, found the key, could have went to the pump and left, just filled up and left. Or if they would have listened to Barbara, they could have just walked out and left. So yeah, it's the same thing, except now Barbara had survival instincts and was the only one that could see what's going on because she wasn't getting involved in the petty squabbles. She was trying to just survive. There is one thread that doesn't get paid off that we see her mom walking as a zombie. Yes. Early towards like the early part of the movie. And I'm pretty sure there's probably footage out there of that paying off. It just didn't make the cut of the movie. But remember when we see the gravestone and we see the picture of the mom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that part.
We see her roaming in the field shortly thereafter in the same outfit. And I'm assuming that was going to have a payoff, but they probably didn't make the cut. Also, we see Johnny. Johnny doesn't come for her in this one like he does in the original. Instead, she finds his body on a heap with all the other ones. So that's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So did they ever, I know they alluded to it, but I don't recall them ever actually making the connection to like a comet or not a comet, they leave the explanation or they left it very vague from my.
They leave it very vague in this one. Basically, they say it could be, they're saying it could be anything from a disease to a virus to, alien spores from another planet. Yeah, which is what it was in the original. So, they just kind of hint at it a little bit, and they, kind of little Easter eggs for the original, like the trough and the Chili Billy and the whole news report itself. So it's unexplained in this one. But that is 1990s Night of the Living Dead. What are you guys' thoughts? Let's start with you, Derek. What do you think?
So I actually had a little more fun watching this movie than I did the original. I love the connections to George Romero. I also saw somebody else with the last name Romero in the credits. The credits were kind of long, the opening credits. And, I'm glad that he got another crack at it and that hopefully he made some money back on, his work and his idea, even if it was 22 years later. I love the hindsight that he brought to this new version, kind of cleaned some things up. In my opinion, tightened up a lot of things that made it, although it is the same movie, feel different, feel better. And feel bad for Ben. Poor bastard. No universe does he survive. So I think I gave this movie the previous one a 7.8. I'm going to give this movie an 8.
What did we give the last one? Just out of curiosity.
What did you give it?
So
you gave it an 8 and Jamie gave it an 8.
Okay. That's fair.
So it's your turn, Lydia. What do you think?
Okay, well, I think that it's I think this is a great movie. I really do. I highly recommend it. The acting is amazing. The effects are amazing. The direction's amazing. The story is great. And I think it's really interesting the difference of the actual storyline and what like the kind of metaphors have changed over time. You know what I mean? Like it's not just
it goes from civil rights to women's rights almost.
Yeah. Oh, and not just women's rights, but like just how humanity is. And we are turning into monsters.
Yeah.
And it needs to stop. And we've always been monsters, but it needs we need a change or something. You know what I mean? And I think that is really cool viewpoint, and it resonates, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this one a 9. I almost gave it a 10.
It's a solid one.
It's very solid. Very solid.
Yeah, I really like this. I've liked it since the moment I saw it, and that's why I revisit it so often. I just think it's a really fun watch. I think you can't take your eyes off of the actors, especially Patricia Tallman and Tony Todd. They're
Mhm.
magnetic. They're great to watch. They do great jobs. I think it's beautifully shot. I think it has some good makeup effects. It's not as gory as you would think it would be, being a Tom Savini movie, but that's because of the NPAA. But yeah, it's a great time. I am also going to give it. I'm going to give it an 8.5 because I mean, I know we're rating it higher than the original, and that's kind of blasphemous. But it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It's a lot of fun, and it's almost like we said, there's like some corrections that have been made,
Yeah.
you know. So I
and
mean,
it's Romero revising himself. So
yeah, and you can't go wrong with Tom Savini, right?
no, definitely not.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I had no qualms in rating it even higher, is because of the direct connection. If it, maybe I would have a little bit more reservation if it were somebody else and they were like, I'm gonna make, these corrections from this original classic movie. But the fact that it's him, I'm at peace with rating it a little higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. So guys, Night of the Living Dead 1990. It's time to once again Atkinize Night of the Living Dead.
Thrill me.
Who would Tom Atkins playing this is kind of have the same choices, man.
Yeah,
As
same
we did it from
characters.
because it's the exact same characters.
Who did we cast him as before? You guys remember? Because I don't.
I think last time we cast him as I don't remember, the sheriff or something like that, probably.
Because
think the
I mean,
sheriff,
that's the typical move.
Yes, because that's what we do. I don't know who that one, the like lead redneck, but instead of making him a redneck, make him Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
The one that like it's always like smiling, is like the flirty
him
one
in this one though.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. In this one,
Oh,
we
I
make
got
him
you.
like the cool
head
guy.
redneck. Yeah.
The cool guy that's always like he's like, put another one on the watch your back. There might be more in here. Drag that thing out of here.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, because we can't beat Cooper.
He could be he could be cemetery zombie or something.
This one's hard. We're just gonna have to stick. I'm gonna stick with lead posse leader.
All right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. All right, Lydia, it is your turn to pick.
Oh.
What film are we watching next week? Obviously, you prepared for this.
Yeah, I'm going to throw some out there, Lydia. Feel free to pick. There's Rumpelstiltskin. There's, let's see, Turkey. What's the Thanksgiving? We could go with that one. I'm just throwing some out there. You feel free to take my advice.
Okay, never take Derek's advice. Lydia, what are you thinking?
So I just want to explain that my reasoning was that I thought that I picked Halloween 3.
Derek,
but I
Halloween
didn't.
3.
I picked
right.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my reasoning, that I wasn't prepared for this. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and pick Saw.
Oh, okay. The first Saw.
Let's watch it, guys.
All right. Next week we are going to watch Saw, which is on HBO Max. I already know that because I saw them on there the other day. HBO Max.
Saw them.
Saw them on HBO Max. Stupid.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
I saw what I saw. Check that out on YouTube.
Ooh, yeah.
Right here. There's a link right below. Guys, Derek, do you have a story tonight to regale us with?
Man, I didn't even think of
we do this every week.
I know, but it still like doesn't oh my gosh, I don't know.
We Adkinize every week too, and somehow I always forget that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
while I'm watching the movie.
I was thinking about this the other day. That's the funny thing. I was like, oh man, what story am I gonna tell?
And you just didn't tell one? Forgot one?
No, I guess I don't know. It was an interesting weekend. So
Let me think. Let me think about one.
I got one.
Okay.
Let's talk about our mischievous adventures with Joey and Matt.
Do it.
Oh my
The floor
God.
is yours.
So,
the floor is yours.
first off, if you live in Peru and in the early 2000s, your mailbox got vandalized, it wasn't necessarily us, but if it was, I'm sorry. So me and my friend Joey and our friend Matt, one summer, we just got a little carried away. You know what I mean? Like, we're teenagers. Peru's a small town and there's not much to do. So we just decided, hey, there's a crowbar in my mom's trunk. We're going to go bash the mailboxes. Lydia, your face is just classic. So we're driving through downtown or like through town, and we're like destroying some mailboxes and stuff. But I'm driving, so I'm not actually out doing this, man. And we pull up on this little minivan. This might be too much information, but we got caught, and it is what it is. But we pull up on this minivan, and Joey gets out with this crowbar, and he's going to try and break one of the windshields or the windows. Then he hits this thing, man, and it just bounces right off.
Mm-hmm.
Matt gets out. So Matt is like, he's a hoss. And so Matt gets out and he grabs that crowbar, dude, and he has no issues like destroying that window. And so like we drive off, and Matt left the crowbar dangling out of the window of this minivan. And meanwhile, like, there's some people that are setting up on their front porch, and we didn't notice it at the time, but like as we were driving away, I saw that they just watched us do this. So
Yeah.
anyway, we're like, so picture this, like we're over here and we drive across the bridge and we go over like 3 blocks. And I'm like, man, I still want to kind of hang out with Matt. So I'm going to take Joey home first, and then I'll circle back because like Matt lived on this street, and then the next street up, Joey lived. So I skipped Matt Street. If I would have went to Matt's house, we never would have gotten caught. But I didn't. I went to Joey's house first. And as I came to a 4-way stop, I turned left to go to Joey's house, and there was a cop that pulled right up on that stop. And he got a report of people bashing mailboxes in a white car, 4-door. So I get halfway down the block, and he turns his lights on, and I turn into Joey's dad's driveway. Oh my God.
Which is right down the road from mom and dad's house.
Yeah. So the cop pulls me out of the car, and he's like, "What you boys been doing tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing. We're cruising. We've been cruising." And he's like, "I'm gonna ask you one more time. What you boys been doing tonight?" And the way Joey tells it, I like drop my head, which I might have. I don't know. So I'm like, bashing mailboxes. Meanwhile, Joey and Matt are still in the car, and apparently Matt was telling Joey, "Dude, I'm gonna take off running. I'm just gonna get out of the car and run." Like we wouldn't have told him like who he was. Like, let me tell
Joey
you what. Don't ask. I know. That's about what I was gonna
100%.
say. That would have never. Yeah, Joey would have definitely told her. Yeah, that was Matt. He lives right over there. Anyway, so like we got pulled over, we got caught, and I had to go on probation. It's hilarious because out of all 3 of us, I got probation for like 6 months and had to do like 80 hours of community service, which will lead me into my next story. Jamie, remind me of this. I'll tell him the story about doing my community service at the Peru garbage department or waste disposal. Anyway, and Matt got probation. Joey and his dad, they were like, "You know what? We're going to get a lawyer." We're going to get a lawyer. Joey got the worst punishment of all 3 of us. I don't know if it's because he got a lawyer or what, but I forget specifically what he got, but it was like fines. He got like 2 years of probation. He got like so many hours of community service. But I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad we got caught because, you know, who knows what that could have led into if we didn't get caught. You know, you escalate those things. So it's a blessing in disguise, but don't do it.
Yeah.
Young
Crime
people,
spree. Derek used to go on crime
don't
I
do
guess
it.
so.
sprees. Tisk tisk.
Lydia,
And
you don't
that's
think
this-
less of me now, do you?
No, I mean, I have had a similar. I have a similar story, I should say, but I didn't do anything, so it's a little different.
I
So
drove.
it's
I'm
not the
just as much
same
of
because
It's
she
not
didn't
the same because I
participate.
didn't do
as the other
anything.
two.
I thought Lydia was going to say, "Well, I had my mailbox bashed in."
That's so
Yeah,
weird.
hey,
My
that's what
mailbox
happened to
got
my
destroyed.
mailbox.
Wait a minute. It makes total sense now. It's like,
Yeah.
all I know is I went to get out in my van and there's a crowbar hanging in it.
Yeah, crowbars hanging left and right off all my stuff.
I just didn't know what was going on. And that is this week's episode, guys. Be sure to comment down below on what movies you want us to do next. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out all of the shorts. They are also on this channel. Check out all the past episodes. You can also find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. You can follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow Derek at DDoglyMaster. Follow Lydia at Lydia is Spooky. And you can follow me at Racket. Next week, be sure to watch the original James Wan classic Saw. I think, guys, when we watch this, we will have watched all of the Wan horror movies. I think we'll have went through all of the Wans.
All of them?
All of them, I do believe. I don't think there's any left as far as Wan horror.
I'm
I mean, there's
fan.
Wan horror adjacent, of course, but like all the Conjuring universe. But we've made it through all of James Wan's catalog at this point. But we will be watching James Wan and Lee Whannell's Saw next week, which you can find on HBO Max. Be sure to comment down below, like, subscribe. And for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I am Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. Good night, guys.